أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 161, Surah Taha, ayah number 41 to 76. وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي, and I have produced you for myself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this to who? To Musa alayhi salam. After reminding him of all the favors that he had bestowed upon him, when Musa alayhi salam did not even request any of them. To assure him that if I aided you in the past, if I protected you in the past, then in the future also, when you are working for me, I will also protect you then. And remember that وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي, I have actually produced you for myself, meaning for my work. إِصْطَنَعْتُكَ is from إِصْطَنَعَ يَصْطَنِعُ, from the root letters Sad, Noon, Ain. San'a. And San'a literally means to manufacture something, to produce something, to make something with expertise and skill. And istana'a is to select. It is to choose. There are many other words that are used for choosing, for selecting, aren't there? Like for instance, istafa, which is to select someone on the basis of their safwa, purity. What else? Ijtaba. Ijtaba is to choose and to bring near. What else? Ikhtara, which is to select on the basis of khair. So there are various words in the Arabic language, especially used in the Quran, for selecting, for choosing. And istana'a also means to select, to choose. But how is this word different? Istana'a is to select something, it is to choose something, and then make it, train it, do its tarbiyah, so that it is fit for the work that you wish to take from it. You understand? To select something and then shape it, form it, train it, make it, produce it. How? The way you want it to be, so that it is perfectly fit for the work that you want to take from it. Can you think of an example? Like for example, if a person wishes to work somewhere, and when he applies over there, he's going to need some training. So from all of the job interviews that have been taken, one person is selected, and then after being selected, he is made to go through some training. He is trained for the work that he has to do. And then when he has taken all that training, then he is fit for the work that he is required to do. This is what istana is. So I have selected you, I have chosen you, and I have made you go through all of these stages in your life, all of these incidents, all of these events that happened in your life, all these difficulties and trials that came your way. Why did they come? To train you, to make you fit for your job of prophethood, so that you can deliver the message of Allah to the people. And if you had not gone through all of these stages, you would not have been ready. You would not have been fit for this task. So what does this ayah show to us? وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي. That from all people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected who? Musa alayhi salam. And there were many other people in the Bani Israel, perhaps whose criminal record was much clearer than that of Musa alayhi salam. Because Musa alayhi salam had actually committed a murder by mistake, an accidental murder. And there were many other people who were much better than him in that sense. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected him. And when He selected him, when He chose him, He made him go through فَتَنَّاكَ فُتُونَا, so many various trials and tests, because all those difficulties were training him so that he was able to fulfill the responsibility of prophethood. So this ayah shows to us that sometimes when mistakes happen, when accidents happen, when difficulties come our way, when we become the subject of other people's unfair treatment, when things don't work out the way we want them to, what do we think? That everything is going against our favor. But what do we see over here? That in reality, these events, these difficulties are what? In our favor. Because these difficulties are training us. They're making us more strong, more courageous, more determined. And if we had not gone through all of these experiences, we would not be ready for what we have to face in the future. Like for example, a woman becomes the subject of unfair treatment of her husband, for instance. He doesn't allow her to do certain things. Whereas it's completely fine in the Shar'i sense for her to do all those things. But He does not allow her. Now at that time she might think, this is not fair. Why doesn't He let me go? Why doesn't He let me do such and such? And if she rebels, if she makes a big fuss, she won't be able to take advantage of that situation. And later on, if she bears that difficulty with patience, tawakkul ala Allah, hoping that inshallah there's khair in this, later on she might realize, I have learned a lot through this experience. I have learned to be patient. I have learned to be resilient. I have learned to be determined. And this has helped me become more patient in the work that I do. So, in every difficulty that we're going through, what should we remember? There is some khair in this. Allah is preparing me for the future. And this can only be the case of the one who truly trusts Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who really has positive thinking about Allah. That my Lord is training me. He wants something khair for me. Because remember that hadith, مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُصِبْهُ. There's another hadith as well. That whoever Allah wishes good for, He puts him to difficulty. يُصِبْهُ. He makes him suffer from difficulties. So وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي. When you went through all of these difficulties, you were actually being trained. You were actually being trained. So, difficulties and tests, what are they? A part of training. A doctor does not get his license until he has taken many tests. Gold does not look beautiful until it is put in the furnace. Similarly, if somebody wishes to do the work of the deen, he cannot do that unless and until he has gone through some challenges in life. Unless and until he has undergone some difficulties. Because the work of the deen is the most important work. It's the most beneficial work. And the higher the task, the greater the task, the more training is required. Isn't it so? If you're doing something ordinary, you don't need all that training. But if you're doing something very great, you need a lot of training, a lot of experience. So when it comes to the deen of Allah, the more tests and difficulties a person goes through, the more able he is to do the work. And you will see that people who have gone through such great situations in their lives, they have become so determined when it comes to teaching the deen. For example, I know of somebody who, my mother in fact, she used to tell us that when she was very young, there was no concept in their family that girls go to high school. And when girls go to high school, after that there is no concept that girls go to college. University, don't even think about it. Abroad, impossible. But every step she had to struggle. And she did it. And if those difficulties had not come her way, perhaps she would not have been as determined when it came to her studies. Perhaps she would not have put in all that hard work. Perhaps she would not have had that determination that I am going to spread this knowledge. I'm going to spread this awareness. So when difficulties come our way, they make us more strong, more determined, more resilient. And if everything comes easy for us, then we don't have that determination. You may have seen people who have gone through very difficult situations in their lives. They are the most successful ones. Aren't they? Typically, such people are the most successful ones. So, وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي. I have produced you for myself. And now you are fit for the task. Now you are fit for the work of prophethood. So, idhab. So therefore, go. O Musa, go. Anta, you, wa akhuka, and your brother. Go, both you and your brother. With what? Bi-ayati, with my signs. With signs, the miracles that I have given you. The evidences, the proofs that I have given you. Go. وَلَا تَنِيَا, and do not slacken. Do not become lazy. فِي ذِكْرِي, in my remembrance. لَا تَنِيَا فِي ذِكْرِي. Taniya is from the root letters waw, noon, ya. From waniyun. And waniyun is to deliberately fall short in doing something. It is to deliberately fall short in doing something. To deliberately do less, not do enough. Meaning a person can do it. He is able to do it. He has the ability, but still he doesn't do it. Still he doesn't care. So this word, it could give the meaning of being very lethargic, being lazy in doing something, being negligent, to slack off in doing something. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, go, you and your brother, with my signs, go to Fir'aun, وَلَا تَنِيَا فِي ذِكْرِ. And don't slacken in my dhikr. What does it mean by this? Don't slacken in my dhikr. My dhikr has been understood as, first of all, in remembering me. Meaning, don't forget me. Don't become lazy when it comes to doing dhikr. Rather, be continuously engaged in my dhikr, in tasbih, in tahmeed. And especially when you counter the enemy, when you come across the enemy, when you come face to face with Fir'aun, then at that time, don't become lazy in the dhikr of Allah. Rather be engaged constantly in the dhikr of Allah, so that the dhikr of Allah will become an aid for you. It will become a means of courage and support for you. Just as the believers were told at Badr, in Surah Al-Anfal, ayah 45, that يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا لَقِيتُمْ فِئَةً فَاثْبُتُوا وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. That, O you who have believed, when you encounter a company from the enemy forces, then what should you do? Stand firm and also remember Allah much. وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Why? لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, so that you can be successful. So, لَا تَنِيَا فِي ذِكْرِي, don't slacken in my dhikr. Typically what happens? When we get very engrossed in our work, very busy in our work, we completely forget the dhikr of Allah. Isn't it so? And sometimes it's possible that we're just sitting, we're waiting for somebody to come, or we're involved in something and our mind is fully engrossed in it. Perhaps we're marking something, we're writing something, we are going through books, we are putting books away, and at that time we don't engage ourselves in dhikr of Allah. What does it show to us? That when a person is doing the work of the deen, regardless of what work it is, any work it could be. And remember, any work includes whether it's to do with cleaning, or it's organizing, or it's marking, or it's making stuff on the computer, or it's physically moving stuff. Any kind of work that you can do for the deen, at that time, a person must engage himself in the dhikr of Allah. Why? Because just as we discussed yesterday, the work of the deen is not like any other job. It's not like any other job. Many people, they take this work as a job. I just get paid for it, simple. No, there has to be some spirit that is involved. You're doing this for the sake of Allah. You're doing it to gain Allah's pleasure. So you must remember Allah as well. You shouldn't just be clocking in and clocking out. No, there should be some spirit. So therefore, لا تنيا في ذكري. And secondly, لا تنيا في ذكري has also been understood as that my dhikri, meaning telling people about me. In other words, tabligh al-risal, in delivering my dhikr, in delivering the message to the people. So la taniya, meaning do not be lazy when it comes to telling people. Do not slacken off when it comes to doing da'wah. Rather be very active, be energetic, and constantly be engaged in this work. Sometimes what happens? We keep the work of da'wah only to certain places, certain times. Isn't it? We think that this is only supposed to be at the institute, only supposed to be at the school, and anywhere else I'm supposed to be like a normal human being who has nothing to do with da'wah or anything like that. But what do we see over here? That Musa a.s. and Harun a.s. were told, this is your 24/7 job. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, la taniya fi dhikri. Your mission is to deliver the message to the people. And do it wherever you can, whenever you can. And when you do it, be energetic. Be confident. Be active. Don't become lazy over there. Now think about it. When it comes to, for example, setting up the house for some guests to come, we want to do everything perfectly. Isn't it? The food has to be warm. The plates have to be ready. The house has to be perfectly clean from before, so that as soon as they come and when it's time to eat, I can just bring the food and everything is perfect as it should be. We want to do it to, 100%. But this is the kind of work and dedication that is required of us when it comes to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we should give it our 100%. That we don't fall short in anything at all. Just as when you have guests coming, you don't even want one book to be fallen sideways on the bookshelf. You want everything to be looking perfectly. Not even one shoe should be outside of the shoe closet. Everything should be in its place. The cushions, right? everything should be in its place, should be looking very nice and proper. You don't taniya over there. So when it comes to the dhikr of Allah also, لا تنيا في ذكري. Give it your 100%. Give it your everything. And sometimes we have such plans such as, when I have learned everything, then I will start conveying. But what do we learn? That بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. If you have to have guests over at your house, will you wait to invite them until everything in your house is perfectly ready and set? If you have to invite them, you have to invite them. Sometimes it happens that people are in the middle of moving, but still they will have their guests come over. Sometimes things are not perfectly in order the way they have to be, the way they should be, but still you have them over. So, similarly, when it comes to the deen of Allah, don't slacken off, don't delay, don't become lazy. Because if we become lazy, if we keep delaying, if we keep falling short in one thing here, one thing there, then we'll never be able to do it completely. We'll never be able to do it properly. اذهبا إلى فرعون. Go both of you to Fir'aun. إنه طغى. Indeed, he has transgressed. This was mentioned earlier as well, that إنه طغى. So, how had he committed transgression? By claiming divinity and also by oppressing the Bani Israel. So we see, اذهبا إلى فرعون إنه طغى. It's as though this command gives a sense of urgency. Because اذهب أنت وأخوك was mentioned earlier. But now again when it is said, اذهبا إلى فرعون إنه طغى, that go quickly, he has done so much fasad, go already. فقولا له. Then both of you say to him, speak to him, قولا, a word that is layyinan, that is gentle. Even if he doesn't deserve gentle speech, even if he is the most oppressive people on the surface of the earth, still, how should you speak to him? قولا layyinan. Notice the word قولا. قولا is, what kind of fi'l is it? Fi'l? ماضي مضارع or أمر? أمر. And what's the number? The adad. Dual. Tasniya. What's the singular of this? قل. So قل, قولا, what's the plural? قولوا. And what's the feminine singular? قولي. Remember Surah Maryam? قولي. And the plural of قولي, قلنا, just with one noon. وَقُلْنَا قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا. Inshallah you will learn in Surah Al-Ahzab. Okay? So فَقُولَا لَهُ. So both of you say to him, قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. What is قَوْلًا لَيِّن? Layyin from the root letters lam, ya, noon. And layyin is that which is very soft, very gentle, very tender, and it's used in the both tangible and intangible ways. When something is very tender, very soft, and in the intangible way, when someone is very soft in their manner, in the way they speak, in their behavior towards others, very gentle, very soft. And it's basically, when used for a statement, قَوْلَ اللَّيِّن is such a statement that is gentle, and it is very far from being severe or being harsh. So very gentle statement. فَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Why should you speak to him with gentle speech? لَعَلَّهُ, perhaps he. يَتَذَكَّرُ, perhaps he will be reminded. He will take heed. أَوْ يَخْشَى, or at least he will develop some fear of Allah. So speak to him gently, that perhaps he will take a lesson, or he will become fearful of Allah. What do we think generally? If we want to make someone fear Allah, we have to be very harsh towards them. We have to yell at them. And we have to raise our voice and make a very nasty expression. Perhaps then they will develop some fear. But what do we see? That even gentle words, they can create fear. Because gentle words, they always touch the person. Always. So, perhaps he will take a lesson, or at least he will develop some fear of Allah. Now notice the word لَعَلَّهُ, perhaps he. Didn't Allah already know that Fir'aun was not going to take any lesson? Didn't Allah already know? Of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew. So this hope is being given to who? Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam. Because every time a da'i, a person who is calling people to Allah, goes to the mad'u, he should have hope. He should be hopeful. You should never think from before, oh, there's no hope from this person. They're never going to believe. خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَىٰ سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَىٰ أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ. No, you're no one to judge. Okay? You are no one to judge. Because we see that there were people at the time of the Prophet ﷺ who rejected at the beginning, who opposed the Prophet ﷺ, who led battles against him. Imagine, led battles against him. But still they became Muslim. Right? So, hidayah is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He can give hidayah whenever He wants. Therefore, as a da'i, you should always be hopeful. You never know. The person might change. He might accept. You should always be hopeful. And only when you're hopeful, then you can remain gentle. Then you can remain determined. And if you're not hopeful, you will give up. You will become harsh. You'll become rude. You'll begin yelling. You'll begin fighting with them. So قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. We also see over here that Fir'aun was the most arrogant of people on the surface of the earth. Wasn't he? The most oppressive. But still, Musa a.s. is commanded to speak to him, قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Because that is the principle. That is the rule. Regardless of who and how the other person is, what is your job? How are you supposed to behave? How are you supposed to speak? قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Because if the other person is yelling and the da'i also begins to yell, then what's the difference between the two? What's the difference? There's absolutely no difference. If the other person is yelling, they're being harsh, and you become harsh in return, there is absolutely no difference between the two. So, you as a da'i, your job description involves that regardless of who you're talking to, you have to be speaking in a layyin way. قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. We learn in Surah Al-Nazi'at, ayah 17 to 19, that Musa a.s. was told, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى. This is قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. That Musa a.s. was told, go to Fir'aun, indeed he has transgressed. And say to him, would you be willing to purify yourself? Would you wish to purify yourself? Do you want to improve? So be suggestive. Don't impose. Don't say you're wrong. Be suggestive. And say, would you like to purify yourself? Would you like to improve yourself? And let me guide you to your Lord so that you would fear Him. Do you want that? So, we see that قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا includes that a person does not begin to impose his views on the other, but rather he approaches in a very suggestive way. Similarly, in Surah Al-Nahl, ayah 125, what have we learned earlier about calling people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That أُدْعُ إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ, with wisdom. What else? وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ, and good, beautiful advice. And وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. When you do have to debate and argue with them, do so in an ahsan way. An ahsan way includes that you remain calm, that you remain gentle, that you do not become harsh. And this is something extremely difficult. Because sometimes when you get all emotional, when you get charged with all that energy, you forget that you're supposed to be gentle. So it's very important that we remind one another. This is why Musa and Harun were sent together, right? That when you have somebody with you, then they will remind you, don't be so harsh, be gentle. Calm down, relax, don't say that, instead say this. قَالَ. Now both of them said. Musa and Harun a.s., Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to them, go. They said, رَبَّنَا, O our Lord, إِنَّنَا نَخَافُ, indeed we fear, أَن يَفْرُطَ عَلَيْنَا, that He will hasten against us. What? The punishment, torture. أَوْ, or we fear, أَن يَطْغَى, that he will transgress. Because Fir'aun was a tyrant, so anything of the sort was expected from him. Look at them. So human, isn't it? Musa and Harun a.s., so human, so natural, that, oh our Lord, we fear, we're worried, we're scared, that He will يَفْرُطَ عَلَيْنَا. يَفْرُطَ from the root letters, فَرَطَ, we have done this word earlier in Surah Al-Kahf, وَأَمْرُهُ فُرُطَ. And what does it mean? To be excessive in doing something. To overdo or to underdo, and be extremely excessive in that. So we fear that يَفْرُطَ عَلَيْنَا, that before even listening to us, He is going to hasten the punishment on us. He won't even listen to us, and He is going to hasten the punishment on us. Because remember that Musa a.s. was the wanted man in Egypt. So before even he will listen to what I have to say, he's going to see me, find me, and that's it. He's going to finish me. So I'm afraid, I'm worried, I'm scared for my life. And يَفْرُطَ عَلَيْنَا, that he will cross the limits in imposing torture on us, in punishing us. Because he is extremely oppressive. أَوْ أَنْ يَطْغَى. يَطْغَى from the root letters? طَاغَيْن, طُغْيَان. So what was the طُغْيان that Fir'aun could do possibly? That first of all, against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are afraid that he is going to transgress against you, O Allah. How? That he will become very arrogant towards Allah. That he will try to compete with Allah. That he will become very inappropriate. He will become blasphemous. He will say statements that are very disrespectful. And he indeed said that. Like for example, Fir'aun said to Haman that, O Haman, build for me a structure min at-teen, so that I can go up and look at the Lord of Musa. Who is he? Where is he? Does he even exist up there in the skies? So Musa a.s. and Harun a.s. said, we're worried that he's going to say things that are disrespectful. He's going to do things that are very disrespectful, that are going to be transgressing in the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And secondly, أَوْ أَنْ يَطْغَى, that he will transgress against people. Meaning against us, against the Bani Israel, to show his power. And this happened. How? That when Musa a.s. came, again Fir'aun passed the law that the children of Bani Israel, their sons, should be killed again. Which is why the Bani Israel said to Musa a.s. that udina min qablu, that we were hurt before you came, and we are being tortured even after you have come. So we are afraid that he is going to yatgha. Just like a beehive. If it's disturbed, what's going to happen? Are the bees going to leave you? No. Even if you weren't the one who disturbed the beehive. Similarly, if there's a bear who's sleeping, if a lion is sleeping, and somebody goes and disturbs that lion or the bear, what's going to happen? It's going to create a lot of disorder, a lot of fasad. So this is what we're concerned about. That he's going to get disturbed by us, and he's going to create a lot of fasad. He's going to oppress people. He's going to torture us. He's going to become very rebellious in your right, O Allah. Qala, he said. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to Musa and Harun, La takhafa, don't fear, don't worry. None of you should fear. Because innani, indeed I, ma'akuma, I am with you too. I am with both of you, with my help, with my protection. Asma'u, I hear, wa ara, and I also see. I hear your speech and his speech. And I see what he does and what you do. I see what position you're in and what position he is in. So I can see, I can watch both of you, I can hear both of you, and I am with you, with my help, with my support. Therefore, don't fear him. Because I will protect you. I will preserve you. فَأْتِيَاهُ. So both of you go to him. فَقُولَا. And then both of you say, Inna, indeed we, Rabbika. Both of us, Musa and Harun, are who? The two messengers of your Lord. Notice, Rasulah. This is actually Rasulani. Because it's Rasul, Rasulani. And Rasulah Rabbika, it's mudaf ilay, therefore the noon has been dropped, of Rasulan. So, Inna Rasula Rabbika, indeed we are two messengers of your Lord. فَأَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا. So send with us. What does it show? That even Harun a.s. and Musa a.s. both were Rasul. Remember I mentioned to you that some scholars, they differ between Nabi and Rasul, and others they don't differ between the two. Because it depends on the context, that what title is more relevant. Over here, both were going with a message. Therefore, Rasul has been used. So, فَأَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا. So, O Fir'aun, send with us, who? Bani Israel, the children of Israel. Where? Send them with us to, where were they supposed to go? Palestine, Ash-Sham. Meaning, free them from imprisonment, free them from slavery, and let them go home. وَلَا تُعَذِّبْهُمْ, and do not torture them. Do not punish them. How would he torture the Bani Israel? In various ways. Like imposing extremely hard labor upon them. Difficult work on them. That he used to make them work. You know, if you look at the buildings that the Egyptians built, the huge structures, the huge pillars, if now even such huge buildings are built, there are many accidents, aren't there? Despite the fact that people are wearing so many protective equipment that can protect them, but still there are so many accidents, still so many people die. You can imagine how many people must have died in making all those structures. And who did he use to build all these structures? The Bani Israel. And if anyone dared to say anything, he would be beaten right there and then. So فَأَرْسِلْ مَعْنَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ وَلَا تُعَذِّبْهُمْ. And another way that he would torture the Bani Israel was by killing their sons and keeping their women alive. قَدْ جِئْنَاكَ بِآيَةٍ. Both of us have come to you with a sign, with a miracle. مِنْ رَبِّكَ, from your Lord. وَالسَّلَامُ, and peace, عَلَى, upon, مَنِ اتَّبَعَ الْهُدَى, on the one who followed guidance. May peace be on the one who follows guidance. So in other words, they are inviting him. You see, in this ayah is the invitation and also the good news. That they're giving him the message that please, let the Bani Israel go, do not torture them, and may peace be on the one who follows guidance. Meaning who submits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That what is this peace? What is the security? That the one who follows the guidance, he will be safe and secure from the punishment of Allah in the dunya and also in the akhirah. He will be saved from disgrace in this life and also in the hereafter. Who? The one who follows guidance. And this is not just with regards to the ummah of Musa a.s., but this is for believers of every time, every era. That the one who submits to Allah, he is safe from troubles. He is safe from punishment. Where? In the dunya and also in the akhirah. He will not suffer from disgrace. We learned that when the Prophet ﷺ, he wrote a letter to Heraclius, the emperor of Rome. In the letter, right at the beginning, he mentioned similar words. We learned that the letter was Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, min Muhammadin Rasulillah ila Hiraqal Azimir Rum. Salamun ala man ittaba'a al-huda. Amma ba'du فإني أدعوك بدعاية الإسلام فأسلم تسلم يؤتك الله أجرك مرتين. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. From Muhammad, the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to Heraclius, the emperor of Rome. Do you notice how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned his title? The emperor of Rome. Because that was his title. Sometimes we think that if we're doing da'wah to someone, he's a kafir, he doesn't deserve any respect, don't use any words of respect at all. This is against hikmah. And this is against reality as well. I mean, he is the emperor of Rome, whether you accept it or not. So he said, from Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, to Heraclius, Azim al-Rum, the emperor of Rome. Peace be upon him who follows the guidance. Peace be upon him who follows the guidance. Salamun ala man ittaba'a al-huda. Thus to proceed, verily I invite you with the invitation of Islam. So accept Islam and you will be safe. And Allah will give you a double reward. See, there's also good news. The message with the good news. And then, after the good news, there is also warning. Because there has to be a balance. Because sometimes, when the good news is given to a person, he is motivated, but he's like, oh, fine, I don't need it. I'm happy with whatever I have. But we see that warning is also necessary. Because for some people, it's fear that drives them.